When I first started visiting America from Spain, because obviously I was born in America, but I was born in Jackson Hole, which is really far from Nevada in terms of, it's a couple hours away.
Flight, yeah.
Yeah, flight away kind of thing. So, however, when we moved to Spain, going back to America was when I started remembering my times in America. I remember those early trips to America from Spain, less so from Wyoming to Vegas, back and forth. But one of the things that Yaya had for me and she would do is she would collect VHS tapes, VHS movie tapes for me. And this is, do you know what's hilarious? I look back on my life and I realized we talked about with some of our martial artists that we've had on, where this love for martial arts came from. And that, for me, it came from like, doing karate, being bullied, and wanting to and then finding the beauty in the art. And I realized that's not even true. I realized it actually comes from those VHS tapes that Yaya used to give me, because there was the old Jackie Chan stuff in there. I had a lot of the old Beverly Hills Cop with, Eddie Murphy. I had Karate Kid. I had all these old, almost I want to call them vintage Hollywood action movies, that involve, you got, what's the name? Jean-Claude Van Damme and people like that.
Jet Li.
Exactly. People doing, this old school stuff.
Steven Seagal.
Exactly. No, yeah, definitely. She definitely had some Steven Seagal movies in there. And she knew that I liked the martial arts, so she would buy ones that would be like Cop Gone Bad, that kind of stuff. And what this is in reference to is I used to love Karate Kid. Karate Kid is where it all started. I loved it through and through. I've met Mr. Miyagi, the actor who played him in real life. It was my mecca as a child for what an action movie and 80s awesomeness should be, because it had an amazing soundtrack. The filming was super interesting. And not only that, but it had
the story arc.
The story arc was nothing, no one had done that yet, which was really amazing.
And even from then, you look at Quentin Tarantino's Kill Bill, there's elements of Kill Bill that you could definitely connect back to the master that had sort of some certainly wisdom, but some old school superpowers, and then you needed that to be as lethal in Kill Bill, but as competitive as you could in Karate Kid. Yeah. So yeah, it's a foundational movie for you.
Yeah, it was
a series.
Yeah, it was a big one. It was a big one for me, and there's a lot of them now. I think there's 4 original Karate Kid movies, and now there's the Jaden Smith one that's now out as well with Jackie Chan, which, a revamp. And this is what I wanted to talk about today is revamping something. So I've recently watched the Cobra Kai YouTube TV series. And for me, it was really beautiful. I found a lot of amazing stuff in there. And don't get me wrong, from a filmmaking standpoint, you could pick it apart because there's some plot holes. There's some interesting filming bits. There's some bits that I would definitely improve on. However, things that I was blown away by and that I think really this is why Cobra Kai is a really good revamp versus, in my opinion, the Jaden Smith one is not. And this is what I've kind of concluded, is that the Cobra Kai one has amazing fight scenes. And don't get me wrong, they're not Hollywood filmed. This is a TV show. It was made for YouTube. It's not spectacular. But the film work is amazing. Not only that, but the stuff that they're throwing is actual, in a lot of cases, actual moves. Lots of trips. Leg kicks. At one point, I saw a kid throw a leg kick, and another kid, reacting, take a chop to the leg. And I was like, oh my God, when is the last time you saw anyone throw a leg kick?
And get that much damage.
And get that much damage in a movie.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I was like, that was, usually you see them throw a leg kick and the dude will lift check kind of thing. And they'll be like, oh,
Or it'll be the first part of a combination that has no effect on the other person.
Yeah, exactly. It's the punch that finishes it. So, that was super, super, super interesting. And so the fighting, whoever's choreographing that, I need to do some research, but did really well. But also for me, the acting was really interesting from especially the older guys, especially, Billy Zabka and Ralph Macchio. It was interesting to watch them act again, see their development as actors. But the soundtrack, this is what I really want to really, really want to touch upon, is that all the way through, it felt like as well as the series went, they gained more rights to the songs in the original movie.
They're probably seeing what the audience uptake was, and they had more budget, so they were like, okay, we can take down some more songs as we go.
Yeah, exactly. And so there's moments where, for example, Johnny and his gang meet up again because Johnny, being Billy Zabka and the bad guy in Karate Kid, meets up with his boys 30 years later because one of them has cancer and is dying and is terminally ill. And they have one last like hurrah together, and they all get on their motorbikes, and the same song from the first movie as they all are tearing down to the beach scene, and it's like they play a lot of also the music that they use for the Mr. Miyagi bits in terms of this like beautiful pan flute, like Japanese pan flute music. That's
so you're getting very nostalgic while you're watching it.
So nostalgic, dude. Yeah. Like it is the most nostalgia like I felt watching anything for a long time. Like I was really blown away by how much they reference, and not only that, they do flashbacks. So they'll show like for example, memories from Johnny's point of view, and it will be clips from the original movie, but ordered in a different way, so that it does look like Daniel LaRusso, Ralph Macchio's character, is actually the bad guy and has been the guy who's amazing. And it's like the way that they've done this is so creative. And what I wanted to reference was that, and I think something else I'll follow this up with, why I have a big problem with J.J. Abrams' first Star Wars movie that he made in the series, The Force Awakens. And it's because for me, when you make a movie and just completely use the same plot as the one that you're remaking, if you like down to a T use the exact
formula,
the exact same thing, then yes, obviously if that's your goal, for example, Total Recall, things like that, things that have revamped and made newer ones, yeah, cool, fair enough.
The Bourne ones, like the Mission Impossibles, like all the sort of the series ones that are different characters, same main character, but it's basically the same story.
Yeah, but I guess for me the thing is with the new Karate Kid with Jaden Smith and Jackie Chan is it felt like they were trying to be really modern with, you know, having black Jaden Smith as the Karate Kid and learning from Jackie Chan, who's Chinese, not Japanese, and like he's actually in China, I'm pretty sure. The movie is based in China, and so there's a lot of things that are really different from the main story that they're trying to do very modernized, which cool, amazing. But when you do that, when you then keep the core story plot, the same like motifs, the same like, it becomes bullshit because that movie is written to be in fucking Encino, fucking California, and fucking Reno, and it's meant to be with this 80s fucking like bam, bam, like fucking like synthy fucking vibe, you know, all the way through the whole series. Even in the later Karate Kid movies, that continues. And I think that's kind of more my issue with this new one, is that they kept the same core structure that was never made for modern day China with black Karate Kid and Chinese Jackie Chan. You know, it wasn't. I
mean, there's probably a story in there.
There's archetypes that work.
Yeah.
Of course. Yeah. Archetypes that definitely work.
Yeah.
But for me as well, I appreciate the modernization because at the end of the day, amazing. Jaden Smith is then a role model for young black kids as well, and I fucking love that because also he was amazing in that movie. Yeah. The amount of work that he put in as a person to be able to spin and do like all these amazing and have the flexibility they had, fucking top notch. Yeah. Like incredible. Take my hat off to Jaden Smith. And Jackie Chan, the best that ever did stunts ever. Yeah. So that's that. But there's a reason why, you know, Mr. Miyagi is this legendary character, is because he's old and he's like frail, but he throws these like, and you watch it, and when you watch the original one, he's not doing anything crazy. If anything, he looks more like Steven Seagal in his 50s. But that's what it like. That's the whole point of it. You know what I mean? It gives it that mystery, that beauty, that essence.
It's a strong archetype, right? It's almost like he has superpowers, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. And you have to, but he's not going to give them to you. You have to work for them. You have to be, you have to earn them. And then once you've earned them, will you then have accessed what he has. And it's really cool because, I mean, again, there's different movies that do this in different ways, but the Karate Kid clearly does it. And I understand. So when you say the new one, you mean the Jaden Smith, Jackie Chan one. There's this other one now, Cobra Kai, that you feel like they've done it differently.
Yeah, I feel like, so again, things that I will mention that I felt weren't great. So in the Karate Kid with Jaden Smith, he has to like learn how to like balance with a snake, and you stand across from a snake and you do this like balance move. Cool, amazing. I love that you're doing different. And also the Mr. Miyagi is the classic wax on, wax off. In the Jaden Smith one, it's put the jacket on the hook. take the jacket off, put the jacket on, put the jacket back on the hook kind of thing, you know?
So it's a bit of an evolution. Cool. Got it.
Same in this. So basically, because Ralph Macchio is direct descendant of Miyagi, he still does the classic Miyagi teaching. He does the wax on, wax off, paint the fence, paint the house, you know, sand the floor, like all that kind of shit. Yeah. You can't say sand the floor without being sand the floor. And he does all the classic, but he also then is like, now he has 2 students. He's like, right, I'm going to teach you how, if both of you work together, you can fight a group of his hundreds. He's like, you can defend yourself from hundreds. It's called the circular technique. And he realizes that it's not working on ground. So then he actually puts them in a pond on like a circular balancing thing and gets them to move around, because then they can feel each other's weight.
Like a pontoony type thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And to me, it seemed less gimmicky. Like, don't get me wrong, it was maybe, I guess when you break it down, it's all gimmicky, but it seems less gimmicky than, you know, fucking standing on a mountain in China with a fucking snake, you know, like, to me, there's still
more practicality to like, let's train to like, actually like legit train.
Yeah.
And dude.
And also just in terms of real world usage.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah. So I haven't seen it. I haven't seen Cobra Kai, but you basically rinsed it in, was it 20 episodes in 2 sittings?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. So about 10 hours of viewing.
Yeah.
So it got you. Like, it did its job.
Well, this is the thing, dude. I go hard with things that I'm like, oh, this has validity. Like, I need to see this through. I almost want to see it. I tend to just plow through it so I can make a justified opinion instead of watching one season and coming back weeks later and being like, I have no fucking clue. Like, I've done that with Westworld. At this point, I don't remember what happened in season 1. I barely remember what happened in season 2, and I watched that a couple months ago. I barely remember what happened in episode 1 of season 3, and I watched that 2 weeks ago. Yeah. You know, it's like, to me, it's a really weird one in terms of blasting through things. But no, dude, it held me. It gave me nostalgia. For anyone who watches it, as much as it's made for a younger audience, you can feel that. I would say it's more though when you listen to it. There's moments that are so made for the classic audience. Like, there's a moment where they're doing like a training montage, and Daniel LaRusso's teaching him the wax on, wax off, and then then Billy Zabka cuts to him, and one of his students is wiping a window to his office, and he's like, "Yo, sensei, is there any particular way you want me to clean this windows?" He goes, "Nah, I don't give a shit." And you're like, that is so like just a nod for the old classic fans who really love, like, and I guess that's kind of the thing, as well as they bring out like the classic car, the mum from the original movies in it. Like, they have all these characters.
Now, didn't you say that this whole like the germination of this whole thing is from How I Met Your Mother?
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I read somewhere that the kind of stem of the idea came from a theory that kind of had been like a conspiracy, and it's funny, we've got someone in the chat agreeing with this conspiracy, that actually the whole movie, if you watch it through, that Billy Zabka's character, Johnny Lawrence, is actually the good guy, and that Ralph Macchio's character, Daniel LaRusso, who is the Karate Kid, is actually the bad guy, because of, if you just look at the train of things, he comes into the town, he takes his girl, he then like is a problem for him at school, he then threatens him and enters a tournament with him after having his karate guy his sensei beat them up. Like, when you break it down in an interesting way, it can look that way. Yeah. Which is where then, don't get me wrong, the plot is way more diverse than that. That's the core plot of, you actually see the story more from Billy Zabka's point of view at the beginning of the show. But there's a lot more shit that they bring in, and a lot more context, a lot more detail. Like I said, they start doing flashbacks. They start doing like all this different stuff that, again, you find out, for example, why John Kreese, the guy who opened Cobra Kai, who is Johnny Lawrence's teacher, find out why he's such a hard ass. Yeah. You find out why Johnny Lawrence stopped doing Cobra Kai. You find out like all this like really amazing background information that really isn't given to you, which is really cool. We're chugging through. We're loving doing this stuff for you guys. If you want to support us, if you want to make sure that we can keep getting, you know, better quality set, better quality lights, make the filming better.
Bigger batteries for the camera.
Bigger batteries for the camera.
Yes!
You know, all that kind of stuff. You can do that by just liking,
following the page and subscribing to the YouTube channel. That is what really makes a difference to us.